All right, Regents, we came out of our workshop session at 1 p.m. with no action items, so I am adjourning our workshop and am calling to order the regular meeting of the Board of Regents of Del Mar College District at 1:01 p.m. on Tuesday, June 14th. To establish our roll, Dr. Villarreal. Here. Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Dr. Turner.
Here.
Ms. Hutchison. Here. Dr. Adami.
Here.
Ms. Averett.
Here.
Mr. Garza.
Here.
Mr. Bennett.
Here.
We have a quorum and can conduct business. Thank you all. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Ms. Averett, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you please join the board in reading our Del Mar College vision statement? Del Mar College will be the premier choice for life-changing educational opportunities provided by responsive, innovative faculty and staff who empower students to improve local and global communities. Thank you. Del Mar College is streaming live audio and video from the official Board of Regents meeting on the college's website in real time, with the exception of portions of the meeting considered as closed session by statute. At this point in time, we have an opportunity for general public comment. Is there anyone here to make comment on an item not on the board agenda today? Seeing none, we will begin our meeting with recognitions. I'm going to ask Dr. Christina Ramirez-Wilson to come up and do our first recognition.
Good afternoon. I am very pleased to recognize two members of the Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Division, Angelica Gomez and Carlos Garanzuay. I'm going to ask that they please come forward. Angelica and Carlos completed their Doctor of Education degrees from the prestigious Community College Leadership Program. The CCLP, as it is commonly known, was founded by Dr. John Roosh, who is considered by many to be one of the foremost leaders and advocates for community colleges in the country. The program began at UT Austin, then moved to National American University, and is now part of Kansas State University. The first Del Mar College CCLP cohort was formed in August of 2017. Angelica defended her dissertation titled Communication and Collaboration Among Dual Credit Instructors, a case study of El Paso Community College in April of 2020, so right at the start of the pandemic. She participated in graduation activities in June of 2021. Carlos defended his dissertation titled Improvise, Adapt, Overcome, Identifying Military-Acquired Non-Cognitive Attributes Guiding Student Veteran Success in Community College in February 2022 and graduated in May of 2022. Angelica and Carlos both exhibit an unwavering dedication to student success and, in particular, ensuring equitable outcomes for students in historically minoritized communities. They are also very dedicated to improving college-wide operational processes to better serve students, faculty, and staff. I am very proud to work with these two exceptional professionals. Congratulations, Dr. Gomez and Dr. Garanzuay.
Be happy for you both to make a comment.
Okay. Thank you, and I'm glad I was able to fulfill my dream of getting a doctorate.
Thank you very much, especially to Dr. Escamilla, who helped facilitate the bridging of the program to Del Mar College, and of course, the family, friends, and colleagues who have always been there to support us with each step of the way. I've already celebrated with my family several times, and so being able to be recognized for the work of being on an academic journey while serving those on their own academic journey is pretty fulfilling. So thank you very much for the acknowledgement.
Congratulations. Dr. Escamilla?
I'd just like to add, as a graduate of the Rouge program, the UT version of it, over 20 years ago, it's, Dr. Rouge and his program continues to produce leaders throughout the world, literally throughout the world. And he is regarded as the premier expert in the world, as if not one of them. He's a dear, dear friend of mine, and it was one of my proudest moments to bring that opportunity to bring the Rouge program to Del Mar College, a couple cohorts ago and now, and we continue to produce more doctorates from that program, and it's just an incredible honor. Congratulations to both of you all and your other cohort members and the like, and we look forward to your leadership at Del Mar College. Appreciate it.
Dr. Escamilla, would you describe that cohort and how that works? What is our connection with that?
So our relationship with them, again, goes back. I've had a relationship with them since 1999, and so when we were asked, myself and a few other leaders around the community college presidents around the country were asked if they were interested in this opportunity to bring the cohort down here by Dr. Rouge. I said, yeah, let's look into it. I never say no to anything, especially opportunities to develop people. So we, they flew down here and they began in earnest recruiting many employees here at Del Mar College and throughout the community, surrounding colleges as well. And so in effect, what's happened is as the first cohort, solidified and brought together people from various colleges, that program flies down experts, and then I think there's some hybrid versions now that are taking place, some online things that are facilitating things, especially due to COVID. But they fly in premier experts, well, first of all, to teach the class, professors to teach the class, and then they fly in on a regular basis various experts. I think you've gone and presented a class. I've done a couple of classes.
And some non-experts.
And some non-experts, some publicly elected volunteer experts that have come in, and then they as guest lecturers come in and talk about various topics throughout the course of the semester. And it's very much modeled based on the model that I participated in. Mine was a local full-time residential kind of experience, 13 students full-time, that kind of thing. Now it's got different variations to give some flexibility and multiple cohorts all throughout the country. That being said, it is yielding on a regular basis now through Kansas State University graduates and leaders that are in various positions of community colleges and universities throughout the country. So it's just a model that has just been developed. And although we're a smaller cohort typically here down in South Texas, because we're not in the big population centers like the big cities are throughout the country, we've held our own, and we pulled together people from other colleges and the like from all throughout out of state and other parts of the state, and it's been a wonderful thing.
Thank you for that. Thanks for letting me hijack your presentation. I just think it's important that we talk about it from time to time, the full context, and congratulations to both of you, and thank you for what you're doing in your careers and your dedication to Del Mar College and our students. Congratulations. Mr. Garcia, come up and brag on your team.
No, it's not my big win. It's the team's big win. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. President. So for the first time in several years, Del Mar College is the recipient of the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for fiscal year 2022 budget report. Our report meets the highest level of reporting standards defined by the Government Financial Officers Association. GFOA has determined that our budget report serves as a policy document, a financial plan, an operating guide, and a communication device. Del Mar College is now part of an elite group to receive this award. This group includes approximately 1,800 states, cities, countries, special districts, and schools, districts nationwide. This huge win is attributed to the collaboration and hard work of Dr. West, Dr. Wilson, Mr. John Johnson, Jackie Landrum, Dr. Garanswai, and Dr. Sami. Would you please step up and accept this award?
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you for that good work.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say that we're real excited to have received news that we received this award so soon, because usually we don't know by now. But the hard work of this exceptional team, these guys are always a delight to work with, and their hard work contributed to us receiving the award. So we're very excited. Thank you.
Thanks to
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ms. Cheryl Sanders, would you come up and please introduce Valton Stinson?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla. I'm pleased to announce that Mr. Valton Stinson, Director of TRIO Student Support Services, was elected to serve as President-elect for Texas TRIO Association Board. The Texas TRIO Association is the representative body for TRIO professionals from colleges, universities, and agencies that host federally funded TRIO educational opportunity programs in Texas. Texas TRIO is dedicated to advocating for TRIO movement by creating opportunities for TRIO professionals and participants with professional development and support. The federal TRIO programs are outreach and student services programs designed to identify and provide services for individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds. We have 3 TRIO programs at Del Mar College: Educational Opportunity Centers, Veterans Upward Bound, and Student Support Services, for which Valton serves as director. Some of you may have seen Mr. Stinson spotlighted in a recent Coastal Bend Black Excellence series segmented on KRIS 6 News. We are lucky to have him on staff here at Del Mar College. Mr. Stinson.
Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be part of Del Mar College and also be part of TRIO as well. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. And Dr. Halcomb?
I am pleased to announce that Cheryl Sanders, Del Mar College Interim Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, was elected Funds Vice President for the American Association of University Women, or AAUW, the Corpus Christi Branch Board of Directors. The mission of AAUW is to advance gender equity for women and girls through research, education, and advocacy. The AAUW Corpus Christi branch unites the alumni of colleges and universities for practical educational work, to concentrate and increase their effectiveness in the community for the solution of social and civic problems, to participate in the development and promotion of the policies and programs of the American Association of University Women, to contribute to growth and advancements, and to cooperate in its division and regional work. Cheryl is also one of the advisors for our newly formed Del Mar College AAUW student organization. Please join me in congratulating Associate Vice President Cheryl Sanders.
Thank you, Dr. Halcomb. Gender, economics, race, and ethnicity should never limit opportunities, and I'm honored to be a part of AUW as we work to empower women and remove barriers and biases on campus and in the community, and just reaching towards equal opportunity for everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for starting a student chapter. That's wonderful. Dr. Halcomb, our student success report.
Madam Chair, Regents, Dr. Escamilla, I'm pleased to present the success of our civilian to paramedic course pilot program. I had the honor of attending the graduation not long ago. It was quite impressive. The Del Mar College, in collaboration with the Corpus Christi Fire Department, offered the 43rd Academy cadets the opportunity to participate in this pilot program. Basically, they can do the basic training and the certification program simultaneously, where they could not do it in a simultaneous fashion previously. The Texas Governor's EMS Trauma Advisory Council requested that Department Chair and Program Director Melissa Steve, who is a council member, consider offering the pilot program to the Academy cadets at Del Mar College. I'd like at this time to have Melissa Steve, the chairperson of the department, to come forward to further discuss the program and how she was able to implement it and the outcomes of that. Melissa?
So for you that may not understand how the EMS works, but we are the only allied health program that requires a EMT basic certification before you become a paramedic. And so on the GTAC committee, they decided, hey, let's try and do this. Let's see if we can save students money, save departments money, and save time. So, of course, I'm the first one to raise my hand. I said, I would love to do this. Along with Corpus Christi Fire Department, Chief Rocha, I came to him and I said, look, here's what they're offering us. And of course, save money, save time. He was on board with it. So we implemented it. We had 25 cadets. Those 25 cadets, we've had 100% pass rate. They all took their paramedic. They just graduated actually last night. They did their fire academy, and so Monday they'll start their new adventure on the ambulances. So we saved the city about $17,000 on a 25 cadet academy. It went so well that they asked if I would do another one. So currently we have another one running right now with the 44th Academy. And there was another program that also did it, but theirs wasn't as successful as ours was because they were not in a cadet course where the cadets are getting paid to go to school. So they ended up graduating 2 out of 8, so which is okay. I'm going to change the slide, or do I do that? Yeah? Okay. So like I said, we started out with 25. We actually had our last cadet pass his test last week, so we're at 24. And then like I said, we're at 100% right now. So that makes it exciting for the state. We went to a Credicon last week, and we met with stakeholders throughout the states, the United States, and I had a dozen of people come up to me and say, "You're that program. We're watching you. We want to see what the outcomes are like." And so I was so excited because now I can share the curriculum that my team has developed. And hopefully this will set a trend for the rest of EMS, because right now we're at a shortage. We are hurting for EMTs and paramedics throughout our area and throughout the country. We have a couple of speaking engagements. They've asked us to go and present, and we're going to present with the fire department as well. They've asked us they picked us out of 500 presentations throughout the nation and throughout the state. So they're going to allow us to talk about our program, how we have such a great relationship with the fire department, and how to get this program started. So I was kind of excited about that. So we'll be presenting at EMS World in October. So it'll be, like I said, a really good thing. These are our cadets and with the mayor. And it was so funny because the night we did our pinning ceremony, the mayor had no idea that we were doing this. And so after I presented and we had our state official send a message out to the cadets about how proud they were of how we're setting the trend, the mayor said, I didn't know they were doing this. I didn't know that this was a thing. So she was really excited. And last night, she was more excited because now it's out there. And Corpus Christi Fire Department and Del Mar College, we're on the map. And like I said, people are watching. And I just want to thank all of you all for the support. Del Mar College has always been a huge support for us. And I want to thank all of you for doing what you do, Dr. Escamilla, Lenora, Dr. Helcom. I want to thank all of you guys for supporting us.
Thanks for bringing this to us. It sounds like y'all did a great job, and I know it took a lot of work to figure out how to do it simultaneously. Yes. And what a real opportunity for those cadets to shave off that significant time and to be out in the field even sooner. So thank you for your innovation.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our college president's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My report is going to be short. I don't know how sweet, but it will be short. I'm going to delay some of my announcements till next meeting. I was going to introduce our new CIO, was not able to be here today because he's moving expeditiously to get here, so I will defer that presentation and introduction to the next meeting. But that being said, construction on the Oso Creek campus continues, and we're offering a limited number of classes there for second summer session, which begins July 11th. Late next month, we will begin offering tours of the Oso Creek campus for employees. I know we're doing some things with the foundation and the president's council there. Details will be provided through our college relations for our employees, and we'll see what else we can put together for those opportunities for our own employees to go and take a look at this spectacular campus. We anticipate holding a grand opening of the campus next spring. How early next spring to be determined. Supply chains are really getting us on some things, and so we will work and so stay tuned as it relates to that. One other adjustment that we're making to the calendar, and I do want to say it twice, that's why I'm bringing it up right now, is August 19th, we will have a summer graduation. We are finding that we need more graduation opportunities to make up for the things that COVID left us so far behind on and so forth. But we're going to say it twice today, that August 19th, 7 p.m. at American Bank Center, we'll have another opportunity to get together as we did just a few short weeks ago in the American Bank Center. It is critically important for those families to be our families to be able to come together and celebrate, and so I just want to add that to my report this afternoon, and we will say it again before we leave because it's that important. That concludes my report. I said I was going to keep it short and sweet. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any questions for Dr. Escamilla? Seeing none, we will move into our staff reports. The board had an opportunity to discuss the upcoming election regarding a petition for annexation by individuals in the Robstown Independent School District area. I asked Ms. Keys and Mr. Rivera to please recap and give us any updates on that discussion. We want to make sure that we are having the opportunity for the full board to ask any questions, as well as to have the opportunity for members of the public to understand what's going on. Mr. Rivera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Board of Regents, this is just an update, a quick update on what you heard just a couple of weeks ago. But Regent Scott thought it was important that during your regular meeting you get an update and that we revisit some of this. Again, just by way of background, on April 26th, the college received petitions requesting an election on the question of the annexation of the territory that encompasses the Robstown Independent School District. These were petitions that were signed by voters from within the district asking you to call such an election. We went through a verification process that was completed on May 9th, 2022, in which it was determined that an adequate number of signatures as required under 130.065 of the Education Code had in fact been submitted. At your May 10th meeting last month, you accepted the petitions and directed staff to prepare a proposed service plan and to arrange for a public hearing, all in accordance with the steps laid out in 130.065. On June 2nd, at a special meeting, you met and approved the service plan that was presented to you by staff and directed us to publish that service plan and to schedule a public hearing to take place within the territory proposed for the annexation. Next step, you're going to hold a public hearing that's already been set, June 29th at 6 p.m. at the Ortiz Elementary School Cafetorium, 208 East Avenue H in Robstown, Texas, and that provides you the web page. I think we're not quite live, but we're almost, we're about to go live with that. That's the background. This provides you with a very general map showing you the shaded area there to the left, western side of the map. That's the Robstown ISD boundaries that are not currently in your district, but would be if this gets on the ballot and gets approved by the voters. The timeline, I'm sorry, I'm not really sure what happened with the PDF copy. You've seen this timeline before. For some reason, the dates, which are the most important part of a timeline, I'm told, didn't come out, but I apologize. But let me assure you that Mr. Keys and I have looked at this every which way. But you remember it's a little tricky. You got to work days back from the hearing and all of that kind of stuff. And we're well within the slotted ranges of time for you to hold the public hearing. The key date is on August 9th. Be prepared for that. That'll be your regular board meeting. At that time, you will have the opportunity to vote on the question of whether or not to put it on the ballot for November. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Keys, who's going to talk a little bit about the proposed service plan that you've approved.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. The service plan is attached for your reference. It provides additional information. As you will see, the maximum tax rate allowed under Texas Education Code is $1 per 100 assessed property valuations. Of this maximum rate, no more than 50 cents can be dedicated to paying for debt service. The maintenance and operation tax for 2021 is shown here, as well as the debt service rate. The combined tax rate per 100 assessed valuation is 0.283340. The service plan document also provides for all existing tax exemptions for Del Mar College and references that the Regents shall have an annual adoption of a resolution that sets a maximum maintenance and operation tax rate, which cannot increase taxes collected by more than 8% from the prior year without voter approval. The service plan also includes information on the in-district and out-of-district tuition and fee rates per term, per credit hour, as shown here for the academic year 2022. Key points of the service plan are provided here. We will intend to expand local delivery of services and programs. There will be eligibility to vote for Del Mar College Board of Regents in the elections, and there will be access to Del Mar College campuses, centers, and amenities at the in-district rate should this pass. You see additional services such as customized training that would be made additionally available in our services that we presently offer throughout our campuses. I wanted to add one more thing. As we look at the different programs that we offer here on campus through continuing education and our credit programs, similarly are always made available throughout our district. Additionally, our English for second language students and our adult education programs are offered at the grant, are paid for by a grant, and those type of services would continue to be offered. And our next steps will be to hold the public hearing, as noticed by Mr. Rivera, on site in Robstown at Robstown Center, the Ortiz Center and their cafetorium. And that will be June the 29th at 6 p.m. And the public is all welcome. Additionally, there will be an online video link that people can attend remotely, and that link is provided here. And by the end of this week, we will have a website up and running for everyone to view. We will additionally reach out to the RTA to provide additional information for anyone interested in attending that service or that meeting or any of our campuses. So at this time, are there any questions?
Thanks for that recap. Any questions from board members? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Regents.
Ms. McDonald will do our annual review of our professional service contracts, or semi-annual, annual. How often do we do this?
Yes,
By the
thank
way,
you.
this is a teeny tiny spreadsheet on here.
Can we enlarge it?
Does that help some?
We can make it larger with iPads and those kinds of things. I'm just saying it's not
Okay,
easy.
I thought-
For presentation purposes, it's not,
Okay.
it's not very readable.
Our last review of the professional service contract was in December. So what I will go through today are the changes or the revisions that have been made since that December review. We have stayed with our color-coded revision or addition scheme. So yellow means it will be the contract will be expiring in 22, sometime in 22. The blue means there was some type of an adjustment to the contract. Orange means it will expire it has already expired. And green is it's new to the list. So I'm just going to go down the list. So our first highlight was the Agcm contract. I believe there was a date revision and an extension that was made. There's a contract with Victory Building for the police station that will expire in 22. We had Rio Roofing, which was the Windward campus roof replacements. That has reached substantial completion and that contract has expired. We have Coastal Bend Demolition, which was the demolition of Heritage Hall, and that has been completed, so that contract has expired. We have a new contract that was issued to B.E. Beecroft, and it's for the White Library renovations. We have the Fulton construction contract for Phase 1 or Package 1, and that has reached substantial completion, so that will expire this year. We have Command Commissioning, which was commissioning services for the Oso Creek campus. That will expire later this year. Then we have Marshall Company. It's for Oso Creek Pedestrian Bridge Project. It has reached substantial completion, and that contract has expired. And there's one more addition. A contract addition was to the Allied Universal Security Services, and that contract was added in April. So any questions?
Seeing none, thank you very much, Ms. McDonald. And now our compensation and comparison report.
Yes, thank you. In the May Board of Regents meeting, a status update was provided for this project. Today, our Weaver project partners, Dan Graves and Brandon Tanos, will take us through the analysis process, the results, and recommendations. So I'm going to ask, I believe it's Brandon and Dan to come on up. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Regents. Appreciate you having us here. I will go through the overview, and then I'll let Brandon, who did a lot of the deep analysis, go through the detail with you. But just as a few reminders of the project, the scope, and what we were asked to do. As your internal auditor, we are allowed to do some consultative type work and projects, and as through that
scope of our services to the college, we were asked by administration to do an analysis of a total package of both salary and benefits. So this is salaries and wages, so what you're paid plus the additional benefits that are more difficult to tie a dollar amount to, but to do a complete analysis of what you're looking at for faculty position, or sorry, staff positions. Faculty was exempt, so this is only staff positions, to both compare those, and we used in our comparison both other community college and other higher education data, as well as private sector data that we also have access to through different partnerships and networks that we have as an accounting firm, to be able to go through and do some deeper analysis on both, what it looks like when you compare your staff positions to your other educational entities, as well as the private sector around the Coastal Bend area. And you'll see the detailed cities later in our presentation of the exact ones that we used for comparison. Overall, we want to recognize that the college has performed an in-house comparison analysis, and we used all the most up-to-date numbers from the college, which included 2 separate pay scales for IT and skilled craft positions. So HR had already done an analysis of those in the past and had different pay tables for those positions in a recognition of some of the compensation differences, and we use those as our most current data point in our comparison. One thing that has changed slightly from the scope that we presented to you that's new is we looked at salaries 2 different ways when we did the comparison. We did salaries by position, so a direct comparison of salary to salary title. And some of the data that we had from other community college surveys in Texas, we had exact position comparisons. So if it said administrative assistant, we compared it to an administrative assistant. Because each university and college that participated in that survey, and because of the data available in the private sector is not exactly a one-to-one, we had to do some different segments of analysis. So we also looked at pay grade. And so several positions can be, so like an administrative assistant, there might be multiple pay grades associated with a position title. So we had to cut it and slice it and dice it a couple different ways. So that's a little bit of new information compared to what we presented to you last time, but we did it by both salary and by grade, so that we would be able to get as close to apples comparison as we could. The analysis included 367 different staff positions, and you'll see there exempt, non-exempt, salaried, et cetera. And then we looked at only benefits paid for by the college. So those are employer-funded benefits such as healthcare, life and disability insurance, retirement, and leave. And when we say leave, we include that as vacation and sick time is just one big bucket of leave. And these we looked at as what is provided versus what is not provided, and you'll see that in the table later in the presentation. We excluded things like if an employer offers pet insurance that's fully employee paid, we left all those out of the comparison, because while it's nice to have, it's not part of a total sort of compensation package. And so that's what we looked at from, and those were the benchmarks and key attributes that we compared. And so with that, I'm going to let Brandon go through all the detail of the results of the analysis.
Thank you, Dan. And good afternoon. So we're going to dive into kind of more of the details on the evaluation. So much like Dan talked about, we had to do our wage comparison. So again, we did this comparison through other Texas community colleges along with private sector entities in this Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend area, and really 2 main areas for that criteria. The first one, of course, is the TASB 21-22 salary survey. So 34 of the 50 Texas community colleges participated in that survey, so a little over 68%. And with that survey, you did have different percentiles that had to do with the kind of seniority of your workforce. We utilized the 50th percentile for the average pay range and standard work days in our comparison, so 2,080 of what you would look for to hours in your workday. And then also private sector wages, which were accumulated through the Economic Research Institute Salary Assessor Tool for this specific region. And so to evaluate grades and salary, we also had to identify a threshold of significant difference. So what was meaningful but allowed for differences and variances in responsibilities and experience with positions and grades. Much how Dan mentioned earlier, you may have one title at one company that actually has additional duties that may not be completely accurate of what's happening here at Del Mar, and vice versa. You have people that wear multiple hats, and so to take that into consideration and having a more apples to apples is including a threshold. In this case, we had a threshold about 15% of looking of what would be the differences in those comparisons. So next is our benefits comparison. So benefit information for Del Mar was also compared to both the higher education and private sector. Much like what Dan mentioned, we focused really on employer paid benefits. That included your retirement, your leave, which was sick leave, your regular vacation, holiday time, which we know, especially here at the college, is very generous. Health care, both employee and dependent health care that's provided for health, vision, and dental, your life insurance, and also tuition education reimbursement. And of course, those employee paid benefits were excluded, and we did find in our comparison that there was a laundry list of different types of employee paid benefits. Dan mentioned one with pet insurance. You would see those throughout, fertility assistance and so forth. Comparative information was provided by an independent insurance broker for higher education institutions in Texas cities, which included 7 different states for higher education and 8 different Texas cities. So the next slide here is our kind of high-level summary of results. And so of the 367 exempt and non-exempt positions by grade and salary, so you'll notice 2 really graphics here. For the first one is the grade comparison. So 98% of the positions we found were in or above band for a grade comparison here at Del Mar. And it had about 2% that were below band. In comparison of the salaries, again, remember when we talk about bands, it's what would be the low and the high range for any given position, where salary would be a direct comparison of what somebody currently makes here as a position here at Del Mar versus what we're seeing for somebody else in the survey or so forth. And we had 94% that were in or above the band, where 6% were below the band. So as you can see, these numbers, definitely over 90%, I would say are very high marks on what the college is doing here with salaries and comparisons. We dive into a little bit more on those conclusions. So for the majority of the grades and positions evaluated, DMC is within or above the pay bands of other colleges and generally within the private sector pay bands. Further, when you looked at our exempt data, 165 of the 169 were positions. So we talk about overall positions, whether it be administrative assistants, whether it be HVAC technicians, were within or above the grade band, the bands. 4 of those were below the band. And so overall, there was that 98% of those positions were within or above the comparable grade bands. And vice versa, in the non-exempt, 195 of those were within or above the band, with 3 being below. So you had a 98% of those positions within or above the band. So when we really look at those as being a little bit different, we'll talk about in the conclusion, we have another number, and we'll talk about those are very unique to certain people. But overall, when we talk about the positions, very few that were below what we would consider the bands that were used for comparison purposes. And next is the benefits comparison. So what we have here is a table of a side-by-side comparison of the benefits that are offered by the college versus our benchmarks, which include higher education and industries overall. As you can see, employee paid medical, which on the left column, you'll notice the check marks is what is paid by the college. And then on the right, because we are using multiple sources of data, we would show the comparison by percentage of what those companies or industries or so forth are providing. So for employer paid medical, 90% of higher education had PPO plans that were offered and paid. 96.3% in industries were PPO plans that were paid. For dependent medical, the college is unique in providing 50% of the premiums that are employer paid. In the other comparisons on both other higher education and industries, we had 0% in the survey data provided. For long-term disability that's paid, we had 90% of higher education and 80% of industries benchmarks. which you'll notice a sub 70% where they're actually subsidized. So in this case, they are 90%, 80% respectively are provided, but the only less than 70% where they're actually subsidized. So some of that is paid by the employer. Of course, AD&D, very similar, 62.5% versus 56%. Basic term life, we did that most are paid by employer, a little bit less on the industry's benchmark. For optional term life, you'll notice this one, and there's one at the bottom, professional development, NA. This is where there's just a gap in our survey data and what was able to be collected to provide you more details on what is and what's not provided. But definitely it is an employer benefit to provide that optional term life. In prescription drug plans, 80% and 84% respectively provided. And the retirement defined benefit plans where Del Mar is paying for their employees. We had 44% of other higher educations that were providing and only 18.2% of industry's benchmark. I think definitely when we've talked about salaries and grades, and I think one of the other options is we talked about benefits, and there's a cost of benefits, but also a benefit to when any personnel looks at what is being provided to me to offset any kind of comparable differences in salaries. If you look here, I think the leave, which is paid time off, sick, and holiday, where the college provides about 448 hours of time off, versus other higher education, about 368, and about 392 in other industries. So definitely that additional time off is seen as a great benefit to personnel throughout the college. Tuition, of course, exception for full-time employees. That is also provided here 100%, and then 66.7% provided for other higher education, but only 36% provided in industry benchmarks. So definitely in industry, having tuition paid out is very low. And then professional development, of course, is offered here, but that information is also not highly known as being offered in other industries. So, but this is a great snapshot of when you get to see a side-by-side comparison of the benefits that are offered and that our employees can take advantage of versus what we're seeing out there in the market. And so as a conclusion to our results, the next we have 21 unique personnel. So before you saw a couple numbers that were lower than this, those had to do with the general band. So if you had an administrative assistant or HVAC tech, that's that whole category. We're in collaboration throughout this process closely with HR, identified 21 unique personnel, so about 6% that we reviewed determined they were outside the salary band for both public and private comparable data, which will result in further review and validation to determine what next steps would be. Those positions included your IT technical, some administrative, trade and craft, or education specialist. And those are to make sure that those positions come up to where the others are in that similar band. Differences in salary bands could also be attributed to many different things, including what that person's career stage when they go to fill out the survey or the survey results. This is where you get some of those differences: career stage, their seniority, additional job roles and responsibilities, minimal direct comparative data set. I know we've talked about the Great Resignation, and you've also know a lot of retirements that are coming out. And so with that, your survey information is going to constantly change because you have those that are retired that may have higher salaries, or also you bringing in newer people usually at lower salaries. So you do have some of that you have to understand and kind of take that into consideration of why you may see some of those differences. Therefore, a comparison of the position grade really was the focus. And should be considered by HR and management when going forward is, are we within our grades, not just a salary by salary comparison because of these differences here. And definitely salary differences identified in some private sector positions appear to be offset, I would say, by the additional employer paid benefits and leave options provided here by the college. So when you get to see in that side-by-side table that we just showed previously how that compares, you definitely can offset some of those differences there. That concludes our remarks. Dan's gonna.
So overall, I think what you hopefully can see through this is, one, there's a lot of different ways to look at the data, and there's not a real direct apples to apples comparison given the data sets that are available and open to the public, even through the subscription services that we have as an accounting firm to do some of the consultative analysis. I think what you see is on the benefit side that the college compares very well to other educational entities. Again, that column is a multi-state sample, so as far as, benefits like retirement and those, you'll have a lot of the same opportunities with other Texas community colleges when you look at just Texas, but that included a few other states. So very well in that area. You'll see that the 21 different positions, or 21 different people across the 7 different positions in certain areas, and those, as Brandon said, may be that they're a brand new year 1 person at Del Mar when we're comparing to the 50th percentile in our data set. So there's some data set and some deeper analysis for individuals. We did it on the whole. We didn't necessarily look at the 21 different individual situations, but we have provided that to Del Mar HR so that they can go in and do a deeper dive and look and see if any sort of adjustment would be appropriate. Tammy?
I think that this is an important result, that 94% of our staff positions fall within the salary pay bands of private and public employers, that it's an indicator that we have and we will continue to work to be competitive. Based on the recommendation that Weaver has provided, we acknowledge that there's further review that's needed for those positions that were just mentioned, and to identify to see the reason why they fall below those pay bands. Are they new into the position? Were we comparing them to people that are further along in their careers? So we are taking a deeper look into that. This work also highlights the strength and value of our employee benefits, and it brings a comprehensive view of our total compensation package, which is pay and benefits. The college also recognizes that this effort does not end with this completion of this project. We will work together to continue our compensation efforts to take care of our employees the best that we can with our available resources. The Compensation Committee continues to meet, and we will work together to develop short-term solutions and long-term strategies for our compensation plans. This project, as you can see, I know you see an overview, but it encompassed a large volume of data that had to be analyzed, and it required very tedious work. So I wanted to thank our Weaver team, and I also wanted to thank the Del Mar College Director of Human Resources, Jerry Henry, for their great work that they did on this project. Any questions?
Questions or comments from the board? Thank you. Thank you for your work on this. We do this every 4 or 5 years?
We officially, formally, I'm going to say formally, having an external look. This is probably the first time since I have been at the college, a little over 10 years.
Okay.
Now, internally, do we in HR make an effort to keep an eye on this every year? What are our competitors? What's going on in the region? I think that our HR team that Jerry leads, that they do a good job just doing our own work from year to year internally. And I think that the results from this report, I think it does show, and that we are open to other strategies. The new schedules that we implemented in the last couple of years for the skilled craft, and then also the IT schedules that we implemented over the last year, I think that's indicative of us working together to find solutions to make sure that we try to stay competitive.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Regents, let's take a look at our pending business list. As we are not going to have a regular board meeting in July, we will have a called board meeting to look at our budget and potentially an action item or two if staff needs to bring some things forward. Our August meeting will consist of an update on the higher education relief funds, as well as quarterly financial and investment reports. And then in October, yes, sir.
No, I was trying to get Zach. Can you blow it up a little bit, Zach? Sorry about that.
Enlarge it, yeah, thanks. And then in October, at this point in time, we have Tax Abatement Clery Act, internal audit, and our enrollment update. I have asked Dr. Escamilla and Dr. Wilson to go ahead and calendar our strategic plan workshops and to drop those into our pending calendar over the next month. So by the time we see this again at our regular meeting in August, we should have those dropped in.
We had it in the presentation, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're ready to do that.
Anything else that board members can recall that we need to make sure we're covered?
Well, the greater notice about workshops, the better.
Yes.
What was the comment? I'm sorry.
The earlier we can get
Yes.
those workshops calendared, I think as a regular practice, for those of us who have tight schedules, if we can plan on the entire day on Tuesday of board meeting dates, and if we give you some time back, then so be it. But we have tried to regularly figure out at, 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, we're going to start with a workshop of some kind.
No, that works.
Right, and that keeps us from having to do too many called meetings, and if we can just plan on the entire day on Tuesday, which we hardly ever use, but every once in a while we need it. All right, moving into our consent agenda items, we have approval of minutes for meetings in May and acceptance of investments and financials for May and for April. Are there any of these items that need to be pulled out for separate consideration, either by board members or by the public? If not, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Second by Dr. Turner. Any public comment on our consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Moving on to our regular agenda, we'll have a discussion and possible action related to an amended and restated tax abatement agreement between Del Mar College and Corpus Christi Polymers, LLC. Mr. Rivera will start the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Regents. Your next agenda item has to do with a proposed amended and restated tax abatement agreement between Del Mar College and Corpus Christi Polymers. I'll be assisted by Ms. Keys this afternoon. She's here to answer questions, as well as Mr. Garcia, our CFO. I also want to point out that Mr. Mike Culbertson with the CCREDC is here. Mr. Culbertson assists the college, of course, with its abatement agreements and other things. We also have Mr. Steve Kuntz, who's an attorney from Houston. Mr. Kuntz is with the firm of Norton Rose and Fulbright, and he represents CC Polymers. And Steve, I believe you've got some individuals here, some representatives from CC Polymers as well.
Yes, to my right is Jeff Shea, the site manager at the project, and to his right, Alfredo Betancourt, he is the CFO.
Thank you for being here, gentlemen. Regents, just by way of background, give you a little bit of historical context. Back in 2012, the college entered into a tax abatement agreement with an entity known as M&G Resins USA. The county entered into the same agreement, and again, obviously, a tax abatement agreement is an economic incentive that you can provide entities to come in that holds off or forbears on them paying taxes while they develop and build infrastructure and bring jobs, all in an effort to help them get on their feet and hopefully become a good corporate citizen that contributes to the local economy. The term of the agreement was for 10 years. M&G planned to build a new plastics plant and ultimately employ 200 full-time employees. In October 2017, they found themselves in bankruptcy court. An entity or a consortium of 3 different companies known as CC Polymers, Corpus Christi Polymers, LLC, purchased the assets, including the uncompleted plant, in April of 2018. There was a disagreement over the legal effect of the bankruptcy. The appraisal district and the county considered the agreement terminated and treated it that way. CC Polymers took the position that the agreement was still in effect, and they have filed tax protests with the appraisal district since 2019, which remain pending. After extensive negotiations last fall between the county and CC Polymers, the resolution was reached between them in November of 2021, resolving the disputes over the interpretation of the original agreement and the pending tax protests 2019, 2020, and 2021. The revised terms and conditions are memorialized in an amended and restated abatement agreement that the county approved and signed last November. CC Polymers has approached us, the college, and asked you, the board, to approve essentially the same terms of resolution. A couple of key terms: the abatement agreement will still end in 2023. They agreed as part of this deal to reduce the abatement from 70% to 0% for 2019, and in fact, those full amounts have already been paid. They would further agree to reduce the abatements, as you see there, for 2020, and amounts for 2021, 2022, and 2023. Those are all amounts which are reduced from what the original deal was with M&G Resins. And they agreed to set a baseline project value of $750 million. They further have agreed to pay a minimum or floor property tax every year with a guaranteed payment to the college in lieu of taxes if the amount of taxes assessed is less than the agreed to minimum. That's going to be calculated using the 2019 DMC tax rate for consistency. Of course, if the taxes assessed turn out to be more, because there's a lot of great production going on and other stuff, then they would pay the higher amount. These are the minimum floor payments that have been set forth. It's in the schedule. It's also in the agreement. And again, to go over the details in your board packet, you've got a red line version showing the changes to the agreement, a clean version of that. We also have included for you a legal memo that was prepared by external counsel, Mr. Kabi Caputo, who works with the Bickerstaff law firm in Austin, and they're familiar with these kinds of agreements. He also reviewed it, as well as staff. Additional items, there is, CC Polymers is asked for an extension of 6 months from December 31, 2023 to July 1st, 2024 to add on the 200 new full-time jobs and to complete the construction of the project. The status of the project, and the great thing about this is if this is too skimpy for you, you've got real live people here who can answer the question for you if you'd like. Not to put you on the line, gentlemen, but that's why you're here. But CC Polymers reports that it's proceeding with the on-site completion of underground work, groundwork, and the placement of heavy items on site. Next steps are going to include major mechanical works, installations, and connections. Construction is going to continue into 2024 with commissioning, startup, and commercial operations expected in late 2024. They, at this point, have hired more than 35 new full-time employees, but they expect that to obviously increase that number over the next 12 months with a guarantee of 200. So the summary, very brief overview summary. The benefits to the college would be you get a guaranteed amount of payments through 2024. The agreement is clear. And it eliminates any disputes, any pending legal disputes over the prior agreement and the effect of the M&G's bankruptcy. You get into sync with the county, and the parties are back to the original intent of the prior agreement that was entered into by the college 10 years ago, which is you get on track to affording or allowing CC Polymers an abatement to allow them to get their project online. The terms, as I mentioned, of the amended agreement have been vetted by outside counsel, and staff recommends that after reviewing this, any questions, that you approve the amended and restated abatement agreement as presented. Questions?
I have a question, Mr. Rivera. If approved, when would the minimum floor payments for 2019, 2020, and 2021 be paid?
Mr. Coons?
Sure.
2019 has been paid.
Oh, 2019, okay.
Yeah, so 2019 and 2020 and 2021 has been paid.
Okay.
You and I need to have a conversation about a forthcoming bill
Assuming that you approve.
to shore up the floor value to what's been collected.
Full taxes were
Yeah.
paid for 2019. For 2020, we basically adjusted the abatement percentage.
I'm going to ask you to come to the
Go on up,
microphone,
please.
Mr. Coons. I'm sorry. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Regents. 2019, we paid the taxes in full. The reduced percentage for 2020 was going to be 60%, but we paid, the amount of taxes we paid in was on the basis of the terms of the settlement. We did the same thing with the county on the assumption we were going to get this done. So we had just adjusted the abatement percentage so that you just keep the amount. In other words, we won't owe any more, you won't owe us a refund, it'll even out. For 2021, as soon as this is checked, I'll be getting with Raul and have him get us an invoice, and we'll pay the pilot that will top it up to the floor amount. And that's where it stands.
And then on an annual basis, it gets paid as part of their normal taxing. Okay.
Correct.
Questions?
I've got some questions. So is the anticipated payment already budgeted in the budget that we've seen, or the preliminary budgets, or is this going to require an adjustment to our budgets?
So with respect to the 2023 budget, it's already factored into our appraised valuation. That's by...
At the agreed-upon rate with the abatement?
No, it's based on the current tax rates that we're going to be proposing in August, and the current valuation that is based on the floor analysis. So in essence, it's already factored in. That may be slightly above what the floor amount could be. And that's why I made it a point that we need to have a conversation about shoring up the 2020 tax bill. 2021 tax bill, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that would be part of the process, that next year we'll take a look at the final tax collections, and then we'll compare it to the floor. And then under the requirements of the contract, Del Mar College needs to submit a bill to Polymers to collect any difference, to shore up the minimum floor amounts.
Okay, but we're...
The value of taxes are higher, you get the larger amount.
Yeah, it's
Right,
the
I
rate.
understand that, yes. Okay. So we're going to be seeing some adjustments to the preliminary numbers we've already seen then for 2023.
So in terms of the budget, I think we sort of touched on it in this morning's meeting, is that we are already at the highest level water-approved tax rate. So any more money, any more increase in the appraised value, we need to scale back that tax rate. At the end of the day, we're going to end up with the same revenue dollars that we discussed this morning.
All right. I was curious, other than the county and us, are there other taxing entities involved in this conversation?
I don't believe so. Is that right?
Okay. It's outside the city limits, I'm assuming. All right. And do we have confirmation about how CC Polymers is coming along on their project? Are they on schedule? Should we anticipate them increasing the value of their property as anticipated?
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Shea. Currently, our plan right now is to sanction the project on July 1st, so just here in a couple weeks. As it was previously mentioned, we are currently working on underground work to try to get some things out of the way, some heavy lift things that are out of the way, so that when we do start the major mechanical in about 6 months, so towards the end of the year, all that stuff is cleared out and ready to go. So our construction schedule takes us through Q3 2024. We should be operating towards the end of that, and then commercial sometime during Q4 2024. So that's our current schedule.
And you're on schedule?
As long as we sanction on July 1st like we think, yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
Thank you, Regent Kelly. Good questions. Any other questions?
All right, staff is recommending that the board adopt the that the board approve the amended and restated abatement agreement. Is there a motion to that effect? Thank you, Dr. Adami. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Garza. Any other comments or questions from board members? Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of approval of this amended and restated abatement agreement with CC Polymers, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here, gentlemen.
That's all I had on that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Our next item of business is discussion and possible action relating to the approval of the 2016 Oso Creek Campus Construction Project Change Order Number 10.
This is change order number 10 for $734,500. It will be funded with bond proceeds. It involves changes to STEM building. It's from Bulletin 11 for $537,700 to main building, Bulletin 11 for $146,200. Culinary arts, food service, additional equipment for $50,600 for a total of $734,500. You have a more detailed list that follows with this. just a variety of different items, partly coming from architectural changes, as well as some coming from the city of Corpus Christi, the fire marshal, code compliance issues, and then just items to make these buildings and these facilities fully operational in accordance with what the faculty and staff need to make these buildings operational.
Are there questions for Mr. Strabos? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve change order number 10 for our Oso Creek campus construction project? Thank you. Dr. Adami makes the motion. Second? Second by Dr. Villarreal. Again, one more call for questions or comments. Any public comment from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the change order number 10, please raise your hand. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strabos. And last regular agenda item for today is discussion action, possible action related to an increase in the tuition on our continuing education courses.
Thank you very much, Regents. I'm here today with support of Dean Rivera, I believe. Where is here? We'd like to make the following proposals regarding our continuing education tuition. Here we go. Continuing education and corporate services continues to be a growing service to our students and the community. The focus over the past years has been to work with area school districts to offer dual credit continuing education courses and open enrollment to provide short-term credentials that prepare individuals to either enter the workforce or advance in a career. Contact hours for workforce-related courses receive state funding, and the staff has been very successful in receiving numerous grants to support students in these programs. The tuition for continuing education courses ranges from as low as $5 to $4,000 for transportation services. And most are offered in a manner that is very reasonable for students that are priced to basically cover the direct cost of the course. The Adult Basic Education Courses, or GED program, is an excellent example of a program covered by a grant funding and is not part of the proposed increase. Students pay additional fees depending upon the course and direct costs of supplies that they need, and they generally range from $3 to $14, and we are not asking that that be increased. However, the past year, expenses have increased across the course offerings, which include the cost of hourly wages for instructors, materials and supplies, and particularly the price of fuel and repairs for the trucks. Today's proposal is asking to increase the tuition for continuing education courses by approximately 10%. The last increase in tuition was in 2017. This proposed increase is based upon a survey prepared by the Higher Education Price Index Fund that is found, and it found an increase in the cost from the fiscal year 2018 to 2021 to be over 10%. Additionally, information includes price comparisons to other colleges, and I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. Corporate Services provides our continuing education programs in transportation services. Transportation Services program provides students with the opportunity to earn their commercial truck driving license as well as a Class B program. The college serves approximately 504 students a year and provides 6 state-of-the-art truck driving simulators and 18 wheeler cabs and trailers, as well as 2 school buses. All of this has to be maintained and kept roadworthy. Successful students have a job offer almost immediately. The program is highly successful and recognized throughout the state. During COVID-19, the instructors continued offering classes as an essential occupation when most across the state closed down. The last increase in this program was in 2016-17, and the following slide provides comparative information for similar programs. What we're asking for here is for the professional truck driving, the CDL program, to go from $4,000 to $4,500, and the CDL Class B program from $1,560 to $2,000. And this slide is showing that institutions across the state that offer similar programs in commercial truck driving. If you'll notice that the length of course is very different, so it's very difficult to compare apples to apples. However, this gives you a good snapshot picture of the range of pricing that is going on across the state. You'll notice ours at the bottom at $4,000 and goes as high as Sage in San Antonio at $7,500. The other colleges are different time periods and for a different amount of hours. Our program is a 200-hour program, and it's very, very successful in how we prepare our students.
What's the difference in the hours offered?
Well, ours is 200
No,
hours.
and I'm sorry, why is there a difference? Why are some, are we offering a different certification? Are they offering something more advanced? I'm just curious as to,
It varies a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't have the hours like on Houston where it says 6 weeks. They didn't give me the exact number of hours on that one. But our team is led by John Rojas. John is recognized nationally as a leader in this field, and they have a curriculum that is highly identified across the entire industry. And I would say that our program is more intense and provides more instruction. We also provide more hours in the cab. We continue to add cab hours until the student is ready to test and pass. Dr. Escamilla, you were...
That and the simulators, and not all programs have simulators, and so we have other alternatives to augment and otherwise supplement cab time. So ours is a fairly advanced, one of the more advanced amongst the groups out there that around the state at least.
It is, yes. It's very advanced, and the curriculum that they've put together is a standard curriculum that's utilized through the more highly successful programs. Our students are coming out with more hands-on hours. Safety is a big, big issue. The next section, the following slides provide a comparison of selection of continuing education courses at a variety of community colleges. And I don't intend to run through all of these, but you'll see the variation is huge from one program to another. This is looking at Dallas Community College, and where the hours vary, like certified nurse aide, which is a very successful program for us. Ours is 144 hours, theirs is 100 hours. In the phlebotomy course, ours is 148 hours, theirs is 96 hours. However, ours is quite a bit less expensive. You're going to see just a variety of times, and there's inconsistency across the state.
The inconsistency is very purposeful. The state provides ranges, and then so it leaves it to the discretion of the individual colleges and programs to determine where their curriculum falls. And so it's a professional prerogative is what that is.
Yes, sir.
Preference.
And one of the things is these courses are in the WECM, which is the Workforce Guide by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board, which defines that range. And all of our courses are within the range. But you will see where Del Mar College is very adept in these courses. We're very successful and more in depth, I'm just going to say, than other community colleges. And this is one of the things that Dr. Escamilla is working on is through workforce education at the state level. So you'll see this vary throughout. And that's why we've come to you with a tuition increase at a percentage rate and not per course, because when you see the listing, it almost doesn't make sense if we went course by course. And so we've gone through it with a percentage, approximate percentage. This is the Dallas one. We're providing other colleges. Here's Amarillo. You'll see it varies too. We've given a few select ones there. The next one is Austin Community College. They're all here for your consideration, just to give you an example of how this varies from college to college across the state. This next one is Laredo. with a listing of the different types of courses. Houston Community College, we provided those too, just to give you an example. And as we keep going, we've even provided Lone Star College, which is another college which is very adept in continuing ed. So the way we've handled this is to show examples of what they've done across the state, to justify our own rationale as to why we believe the increase is called for. And then the last document you have is a schedule of, I believe, 3 to 4 pages listing our courses and the proposed price of tuition as to how a 10% increase would relate. And that's a 3-page document that is attached for your consideration. Do you have any additional questions or comments?
Yes.
So are you just sitting, because you mentioned the 10% increase, is that going to be straight across the board? Or are you going to look at each program and you're going to add the 10% to what the program is now? Or are you just going to have one set dollar? I guess I just wasn't clear because...
Yeah, sure. Thank you. It's 10% per course. And so the $5 course will go to $5.50. And we said approximate because we rounded up, for example, the transportation training, the CDL, from $4,000 to $4,500. And so every course in that 3-page listing gives you the column as to how that individual course, the dollar figure that the tuition will be. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, I heard it in your presentation, but I want to emphasize it, especially since I mixed up the terms earlier today. We're talking about continuing education, not adult education.
That's correct.
Which I understand is not going to be affected by what we're doing here today.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay.
The adult education program is paid through grants. The tuition is paid for a grant, and so the students would not receive an increase.
Okay, and by and large, what we're seeing reflected here is the actual cost of providing the courses so that it's not being subsidized by other students.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I'm sorry, Regent Garza, you have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Lenore, I see that you do cost comparisons between what we charge and what Lone Star or Houston
Yes, sir.
or Dallas. But in the continuing education classes, some of the curriculums, there's, I'm going to say local competition. Say, for instance, scaffold building over at the Craft Training Center or welding classes or nursing classes over at South Texas Vocational College. How competitive will we continue? How competitive are we and how competitive will we continue to be so that we don't lose some percentage of students to some of those other programs? Question, because I don't know.
That's an excellent question. At Craft Training, the programs are again, not apples to apples. In fact, all the programs you're mentioning, they're not apples to apples. They're very similar in that fact that they vary in different amount of time. Craft Training, their high school program runs a little cheaper. It's a little less expensive. However, ours is many more hours on task. But both could come out with, and theirs comes out with NCCER certification, and ours has AWS certification and core NCCER. So they're very different, but we are competitive. We're very competitive.
Okay, how about South Texas Vocational?
I don't have a price comparison on that, no, sir.
'Cause I know they also offer air conditioning curriculums
Yes.
and several other disciplines.
We can get that information. We just haven't gotten it. Leonard, do you have it from South Texas?
No, I don't have it particular for that.
Well, I mean, for me, there's no argument about
Right.
the quality of instruction that we offer and how well we prepare our students to be able to go out and compete in the workplace. The only question I have is just that if we look at increasing tuition rates to a certain level that maybe some of the public might not consider us to be competitive with some of the other local actors, will we lose some enrollment that'll offset some of the increased revenue that we might generate from the additional or increased tuition? Just question.
Yeah, thank you. I don't believe we would, in that most of like scaffold building, when we offer it, even though we're giving you a price on it, We've subsidized it with a grant through the Texas Mutual Fund. And so we've stayed so competitive in all the areas that I'm aware of.
As far as the local proprietary schools or the for-profits here in the area, I don't have it in front of me, but I can tell you that our prices are always much more modestly priced compared to them. The other thing too, when we're, in some ways, we compete with the Craft Training Center, but we credential every one of them. So they're our students too, in many ways. So we credential them to the 98th percentile too. So there's some offsetting things going on there. So the craft is a different animal when you talk about the business models and comparison, because at the same time as we're separating ourselves, we blend ourselves with them and share revenues from the state. One of the things that I wanted to add is to all of these fees and these programs, I say all of them, the vast majority of these are being looked at as micro-credentials and so forth from the commission standpoint, and these are the types of programs that the state is looking to I'm going to say, one, identify, track like never before, and fund like they have not before. So those are the things that are being talked about right here. This positioning really just level sets us from about 5 years of not making an adjustment. And then I would say expect for this to come back up in a different form as we plug it in and or as the state plugs these courses into a new formula, a new funding mechanism for the state. So what we're doing right now is really catch up, if anything.
Yes, sir.
And you can see even amongst our fellow community colleges, we're mostly modestly priced, especially compared to some of the big urban institutions.
I don't have a question, but I do want to talk a little bit about the process and policy around setting of continuing education tuition rates. To me, this is this is really getting into management when we're talking about the level, some of the courses that you've described here. So, Tammy, I'm wondering if maybe you and Lenora and Leonard can figure out some best practices in policy around continuing education tuition and fees, and have us adopt a policy that gives that responsibility for setting competitive rates to the president, as opposed to these fees coming back to the board. If it's been since 2017 since we've done anything, we're not looking at these often enough. And is it really at that level? Should we be looking at how much you charge for a phlebotomy class? I mean, so I'm curious as to if there's are there some best practices around policy that might help us set those parameters and a benchmark maybe against local or state fees, something that gets this out of what I think. I think this is a little management for us. More micromanaging here. Just, I'm curious as to what your thoughts are, board.
I agree. We need to be careful with not needing to micromanage, not getting to all of those things. But I would like the policy to consider looking at these changes more often than 5 years, so that we're not taking big leaps, but we're keeping up.
I think a lot of that's naturally going to happen after the next legislative session. So I think we can work in tandem over the course of this next year to do exactly that, and so that we don't make change, stop, change, and make another one as the laws change. So we would definitely look at that. I think we brought this back to the board in an abundance of caution a few years ago, as we hadn't seen any changes for years before that. We hadn't made any changes or even brought them to the board. So out of an abundance of caution, any kind of adjustment in student charges was brought to the board. But we certainly do appreciate that. I know I do, and team will, as we sit down together and see if we can come up with a better process, for sure.
Well, I'm going to assume that part of this presentation was we need some of these increases because of the additional cost of providing these programs, for example, the transportation, and we all recognize that gas and diesel has gone up considerably. But if we see corresponding collapse in those prices, would the policy also contemplate lowering the cost of providing these programs?
So it's a combination of maintenance and fuel costs for that example right there. I think, you know, we would keep our ears to the track. If we're outpricing ourselves in any part of the markets and so forth, we're gonna course correct ourselves. If we see and we're losing, you know, market share or anything else to other competitors, then, you know, we'll adjust. The other thing too is, you know, we're being asked to partner with other colleges on certain programs, and those expenses of just the logistics of using the truck driving program again with Coastal Bend and so forth, all the way. We're operating out of Pleasanton as well as an example. Yeah, we're going to watch them. That's the thing about this part of the curriculum. It's a very nimble, it's supposed to be the most nimble part, to your suggestion, Madam Chair, the most nimble part of our curriculum to outside of to include corporate services. And so we watch very carefully what's going on there, and we will adjust down.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Okay. And I am sensitive to the cost of the college of providing these programs. I'm sensitive to the issue of market share, but I'm also sensitive to the possibility of pricing out quality students who could not do the program because we've added $300 to the cost or whatever it is. And so that certainly needs to be part of our policy discussions, or I believe it should.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, because somebody brought up micromanaging, I think the board is authorized under the Education Code to set tuitions and fees and rates. So that's where your authority comes from.
Right.
But your idea about a policy to define that.
In this instance, I would think that there has to be some mechanism other than pages and pages of individual course fees that you're asking the board. I mean,
Right.
I realize it's there as presented, and we don't have to adopt each individual one, but I'm just thinking there has to be a more nimble way that could respond to the market better. So given Mr. Kelly's question, is there a way to word the motion, Mr. Rivera, that provides staff the flexibility if they need to lower a fee based on market? Approve a up to 10% increase to be applied as needed by the administration? No?
In light of the fact that it's really our prerogative to set tuition, I'm not sure that we want to go that far, but I do see the value of having a policy to guide staff as they bring these things to us.
I think today's recommendation really brings us back to that discussion of current inflationary considerations and all of these other things. And so the rate right now and the proposals that we've put forth are applicable certainly to today. The idea of them going backwards anytime soon is highly unlikely, given the state of affairs with costs and associate maintenance and the like. Because even the healthcare equipment and everything else is going to be hit by inflation and so forth. So if that helps you all make the decision for today anyway, I think going back to what the original recommendation is from our chair is to go back in and review and use this year with the things that are going on statewide. We're going to have a different scenario in about a year's time from now. So I think hold on tight, and we'll come back with a different proposal, I suspect, because I think the laws are going to change for us.
So for today's motion, to approve an approximate 10% tuition increase for continuing education courses as presented.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Avers. Second by Ms. Hutchison. Any additional comments or questions? Did I thoroughly confuse the topic? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The board is going to return to closed session under Texas Government Code 551.074 regarding the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including the annual evaluation of the college president and the president's contract. The time is 2:35 p.m. We'll take a quick break and then convene in the closed session room. Back from our closed session at 3:30 p.m. I'm going to ask. All right, we're good. It says closed session. There we go. I'm going to ask for a motion to confirm the completion of a successful performance evaluation. Hang on a second. All right, we're going to try that again. There we go. I'm going to ask for a motion to confirm the completion of a successful performance evaluation for College President Dr. Mark Escamilla. Is there a motion to that effect? So moved. Thank you, Dr. Villarreal. Second by Ms. Hutchison. Are there any comments on that motion? I do want to say that the board completed his performance evaluation over the past couple of meetings, and overall, we think this is the highest rated performance evaluation Dr. Escamilla has received in his tenure that we could acknowledge amongst the experienced board members here. So we want to compliment you for a job well done, not just during the pandemic, which was very obvious and we've talked about for the past couple of years, but for your continued leadership and for the educational leadership you provide in the community, as well as what you do at Del Mar College. So thank you very much, Dr. Escamilla. Are there other comments?
I've got a comment. I recognize that when everything looks like it's happening easily, it's a representation of all the hard work that transpired behind the scenes that we don't see. And not everybody can sit in the big chair, but you certainly can.
I agree that to call it a successful recommendation or evaluation is a gross understatement. It was a superior evaluation of a lot of hard work, of being successful in gathering a great team and acting as a leader among everyone at Del Mar and among the community. And so we recognize all of that and have appreciated that, Mark.
So with that, is there any public comment on that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion confirming the completion of successful performance evaluation for Dr. Mark Escamilla, please raise your hand. Any opposed, same sign. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Members, let's take a look at our calendar. Dr. Escamilla, you want to review that for us?
Well, sure. Obviously, today's the 14th. This weekend, trustees and I will be attending the CAT annual conference in Houston. On June 20th, this is the first time that we officially will be observing as part of our official calendar the Juneteenth celebration. Officially, it is the 19th, but the college will be closed on the 20th. This has been built into the college. This is an important holiday in Texas history that we are proud of, and we will be observing this coming Monday. The 29th will be the public hearing for the over at the Ortiz Elementary School cafeteria in Robstown regarding the possible annexation of Robstown ISD. The 4th of July holiday will be officially observed on the 4th, on the Monday, so get ready to celebrate the National Independence Day. Budget workshop on the 26th, and that's, remember, not a regular meeting, but a budget workshop is where we really begin to solidify our financial positioning for the next fiscal year. Mr. Garcia and team are already ready, and I dare say ahead of the curve because of the diligence they've been given. Going into August, regular board day will be on the 9th, summer graduation. Again, reiterating that the summer graduation at American Bank Center seat at 7 p.m. is again in efforts to help us catch up for those who have not been able to graduate, and that is a change of course that directly benefits the students. We appreciate you all's flexibility. The 23rd will be the public hearings for the tax rate and for the budget, which will get us into completion and ready for the new fiscal year. That concludes the calendaring, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Escamilla. And with no other business, we are adjourned at 3:35 p.m.